That's the cause and that's the effect. So understanding that spirit is, and see when I say spirit, people think religion. It's energy or consciousness. You can't deny that we all have consciousness. That's really what it is. And when we understand that everything comes from that, thoughts become things don't become thoughts. That's the difference. When you really wrap your hand around it, it's just becoming more aware of what is. And then you can create like an Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos. Elon Musk has limiting beliefs too, we all do, about different things. But that's when you say out of body, that's what people are trying to express. And as soon as you say that, you lose people. They think you're, a medium.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, medium.
So then they reject the information.
A psychic and
we get
so
to
forth.
the science of it, so you can't reject it. It's the same way an acorn becomes an oak tree.
And that's really what helped me have the breakthrough was I did not want to buy into some hokey pokey, Aaron was trying to get me to go on it was an all naked retreat that was in a teepee and there was cocaine, Aaron in there but I didn't want to get into this like weird hokey pokey religion-ish type thing, and that's what I always kind of put us in a box as, and it looking back is what screwed me so much because I wish I did this freaking 20 years ago in my life. But what actually helped me get through it was when we were outside on kind of the river there, it was not hokey pokey, it was the rational, logical, data-driven information that I was like, oh, well, yeah, duh, that's exactly how that works.
Yeah.
And once they explained to me in a logical, rational way, my brain was able to accept it and believe in it, because I'm like, okay, this isn't about, some miracle journey that we're going to go on. It was just a rational concept of it. I want to ask you, I want to talk to you about, because this has been another huge benefit of my life that I have recently started doing, and I call it setting my segmented emotional intentions all throughout the day. Now, for me, guys, this was a massive, massive breakthrough, and I want to talk to you and get your advice and opinion on this. So, many times, have you guys ever been going to a meeting, or you going to a podcast, or you go to an event, and sometimes you'll say, hey, what I want out of this, what I kind of want the outcome to be, and sometimes you'll say, well, I want to go on this podcast and I want to add value, or I want to go to help this person, and I want to make sure that we can get them to this certain point. And we kind of set what we want as the outcome or the goal, especially if you're a CEO, because you tend to naturally be a driver, more of an alpha. Eddie's more of a beta, but that's a different story. But through the process, a lot of the alphas in the room, we kind of predetermine, like, okay, we want this end goal. Ryan, sticking you in the front row, you've bought companies before, right? And sometimes as we go to make a purchase, if we're not careful, we will predict exactly, like, okay, I'm gonna have this meeting, I'm gonna buy this company, I'm gonna buy for X, Y, Z, or whatever, and we set it and we just go get that right there. And that was part of like my chessboard. Until one day, again in my office, I was going through this kind of process and journey. Someone came in and talked to me right after you actually about setting my emotional intention. So if you can, talk a little bit about that, and I'll kind of explain how I do it as well. But
sure.
What does it mean when someone says emotional intentions?
Well, first of all, we understand when we say emotion, what we're talking about is feelings, right? And those are in the subconscious. It's really what we're saying is vibrations. So if somebody says they feel sad, what they're saying is I'm consciously aware that I'm in a low vibration. If you feel all excited, what you're saying is I'm in a high vibration. Well, vibration sets up attraction, which is another thing that people think is ethereal. The law of attraction. It should be called the law of magnetism. And human beings are electromagnetic. So when you learn how to set your vibration, whether it's going for a run in the morning, meditation, I call it mental and physical priming before you attack the world. So the world's either going to attack you or you're going to prepare for it and go into things with emotional intention. That's really what that is. And there's a million different things you can do to set that intention. Being aware is number one. Most people don't have a solid morning routine, but I promise you, people like Jeff Bezos, solid routine, it's physical, it's mental. Like they are bending the universe to their will, right? They're using their consciousness to create something out of nothing. So when you talk about that, it's just another way to say you're aware of vibrations and setting your vibration for the day, and then going into something in a high vibration.
So for me, as we were going through this, what I started to do was, I use the word segmented because when I try to say, sometimes we'll say, oh, I want this year 2022 to be a joyful year. It's like, bro, you set the goal so far down the road that it's almost impossible to ever get. And if you're almost setting yourself up for failure as well, because if you get to the point at the end of 2022, after 365 days, and you're like, oh man, that wasn't a joyful year. Your whole year was freaking like screwed at that point because you didn't create this joyful year. And then I even went to like a day, like okay, I want a day to be an exciteful day. And I couldn't even get through a day because as an entrepreneur, it's like we daily get kicked in the teeth all the time of bad news, negative news, and it's like even in the morning, and if I set my intentions to be this, I couldn't even get to lunchtime, and I was off killed. And so I broke it down and said, I'm gonna do segmented emotional intentions. And before I go into anything, before I went into this interview process right here, I took just a brief moment and I set my emotional intentions. Meaning, I asked myself the question, and this is a big, big game changer for me. I asked myself the question, how do I want to feel at the end of this? Now, normally what happens is, again, this is where, as an alpha type of CEO that we all are, you're like, that's a weirdo question of how do I want to feel? And I'm not disagreeing with you. I feel the same way. However,